We've got a skeleton crew today. Hi, welcome everybody to the John Lavenia Mastermind session today. We've got a nice intimate group of 10. That's actually, we did that last time. I like that. But people pop in. Here we go. We've got Gail and Therese and Bill and John and Ego and Carl, Suzanne, Daisy. I see John popped in there, his pretty picture with that striped shirt. Sandra, Cyril's in, Janet, that's everybody on my page right now. The usual housekeeping is we've got Nancy tonight with her yoga. And sad to say that our Lieutenant Colonel is probably not doing his session tonight. He is stuck in jury duty, which I saw on, I saw that somewhere yesterday. So he wasn't sure what that schedule is going to be. So, and we probably won't see him on here today unless he sneaks it on his phone. But Emma just popped in. Hi, Emma. We were talking a little bit before everybody jumped in about weather and how most of us, some of us that were on here, a few that were on here, enjoyed two seasons. It was summer in June, or fall and October, or rain and summer. For us here in the Northwest, Teresa and I, I don't think there's anybody else here from the Northwest. Anyway, so that's the housekeeping. And of course, it's the hospitality suite when we're finished at 1 p.m. Eastern time. So what I thought I'd talk about a little bit today is something that we have in our control that I don't think that we really take advantage of, and that's deciding who's going to be on your team. And your team can consist of just a broad spectrum of people, and anybody from your direct family members to your coworkers, your partner, your spouses, your support group. This is our team, right? Our team is right here, all strong and participating. Then you can drill that down to who you like to have on your team. You know, what we do daily, part of our team is somebody that people we don't really think twice about as being on our team. And that could be anywhere from doctors, lawyers, accountants, consultants, people that we deal with every day, day in and out. I mean the pharmacist that you go talk to, anybody that gives you that helps you in your life and is in your daily routine. Those I would consider your team members. And some are vital team members, some are not so vital team members. But what struck me this week when I was thinking about, a lot of it was when we were listening to somebody the other day, and I'll think about this in a second. But what we tend to not focus on is the decisions we make about the team members on our team that can enrich our lives, and whose lives we can enrich as well. Whether we're selling products for Amazon, whether we're doing some consulting on the side, whether we're doing some things on here. Therese does things with nutrition. Nancy Burtonshaw does stuff with yoga. Nicola does stuff with getting our mind and relaxation and kind of putting in our lives in neutral, and being centered. Those are the places for me that I think I lack in bringing them onto my team. And that comes for me for two sources. Again, we all have our teams. Some of us have bigger, stronger teams. Doesn't mean they're better teams. They just, that's the team you have. And for me, I get going it's so fast. There's so many things to do. There's, I have side business. I have my paying job. I have, trying to work Amazon. You get busy. You have children. You have things you have to do, places you have to be. And the last person you typically take care of is, in most cases, in my case, is me. I'm trying to get better at that, as I'm trying to get better at a lot of things that I've learned being in this group. And so one of the I think the areas, the blind spots that we have is getting people on our team that can actually help us in our day-to-day lives and in our futures. Great point, John Lavenia, great team member, right? I mean, everybody on here is on my team. I think hopefully I'm on everybody's team here. It works both ways with everybody. I mentioned Nancy. I mentioned everybody who has a stake in some things that they do outside of the general session. The facilitators here on this in this venue are team members. It's almost like an org chart, right? It's John Lavenia is kind of the chairman, CEO, president of this organization, and it all just branches down from there in all great, really strong ways. Those team members, you know, when we look at a lawyer or look at a doctor or look at an accountant who help us with some things that kind of keep us out of trouble, so to speak, you know, those same people that I'm referring to, people that you have in your circle of friends, you should look at them as team members. I would think I try to look at them as team members, not how I can take advantage of them, but how they can enrich my life, how they can help me go to the next level, and how can I in turn return that and give back. Because I think, as we all know, and we've talked about this here on many occasions, the more you give, the more that comes back, and you don't always see that, right? It's the hidden things, it's the subtle things. And so when I was talking to somebody the other day in our company, and we have a group of salespeople that are out in the field, and we're all in our own regions, and we're all in our own our sandbox, and they are actually team members. We rely on each other. We pose certain situations and circumstances to each other, and we give advice to those who ask for it, and we then ask for advice back, and it makes everybody stronger. And that's a team member. Believe it or not, the people that I try to sell to, I believe, eventually become team members as I develop those relationships. You know, in sales, and we all too often are trying to jam it down somebody's throat, a product that you're trying to sell, because that's equates to success. But really what you're doing is you're talking to another human being, and who eventually will be part of your team to be successful. And hopefully whatever you're offering in life, whether it's nutrition or yoga or meditation, you're offering that, you're giving that to somebody to enrich their life and to help them, and typically something will come back. But I look at some people that I have actually interacted with and developed relationships, and you know, I give them an option of something as far as for them to utilize within their company, and they in turn, what's happened to me time and time again is I'll get a phone call or an email from them suggesting I should talk to so-and-so at another company. They're in the same industry as them, but they may not be in their own backyard, but they have connections, because you know, once you stay, as you know, you kind of stay in your lane, in your industry, in your circle, it gets tight, right? And it never ceases to amaze me how, you know, somebody will give me a telephone call and or an email and totally out of the blue suggest that I should call this person, and like I said the other day in the win, we were talking about wins yesterday. You know, I had been kind of taking my time and being patient about somebody, and all of a sudden the door opened up, and I got the email and the phone call, and then we, you know, we're working on it. So I think as we progress in our lives, as we get into groups like here, we broaden our team, and as we broaden our team, we also learn that there are some teammates that probably aren't good teammates. They're not bad people. There's just some things going on. The interaction, the connection is not there, and teammates drop off just like everything else. It's an ongoing sales, right? There's a sales pipeline. I can speak to that. I know a lot of people on here are on sales, but you know, there's a pipeline. You stuff it, stuff comes out the other end, whether you do business with what comes out of the other end, or it turns out to be not a great qualifier, not a great prospect, it goes away. But our team, each individual teams that we have are ever evolving, and I think the lessons that we learn as we bring teammates on and jettison teammates off, we get better at choosing the teammates. right? It's like choosing mates, choosing jobs. As we get experienced, we get more, we get better at not making poor decisions. I don't think we'll ever not ever have a poor decision, because as we've always said here, the lessons we learn, the failures that we have, big or small, those are lessons. They should be lessons. And if they're not lessons to you, then your pulse, you should check your pulse. What I find is that the teammates that I jettison or that eventually fall off are ones that are more takers than givers, right? I think we all can agree to that. You've got people that are sapping the energy out of your life because they just take. Now, there's taking, which is, I think a negative connotation of that is somebody who's just selfish, who doesn't care. Just it's all about them. Then there's people that take because they're your children. I mean, that's just the natural. That's what happens, right? Kids are always takers. But as I said the other day, having a child, and she's 16. I've had 16 years of a lesson on being patient. So my daughter's a teammate, and what did she bring to the table as a teammate was she taught me patience. I got so much better at patience. I'm an East Coaster, and we don't have patience. John, as an original New Jerseyan, will attest to this today or one day. But people on the East Coast, they want it done yesterday. So I've had to learn through new teammates out here on the West Coast and the Northwest. And Therese can attest to this, that nothing happens fast. Your patience is tested, and I'm going down a rabbit hole in patience, but I'll get out of it. Nothing happens fast, and I'm still almost on a daily occurrence. Somebody has to grab me by the back of the neck and go, slow down. Whoa, it'll get done, but it's not going to get done yesterday. So I have teammates that I bring on that teach me life lessons about things that I'm, not as good at that I should be. And there are people that come on my team that it's a about face. They are not as attuned to themselves. They're not attuned. They're not in as much a giving mode as we all like to be, right? And so you kind of wean them off. You're not rude. You're not mean. You just kind of they're not on your team anymore. They might be on the second or third string, right? So teams have levels. You have the first string, you have the second string, you have the third string. You have, as they say in the NFL, they have the practice squad, right? You have guys that are, were cut, but they re-sign them at another contract, which is not as much money, so it doesn't. The cost benefit is a little lower, but you get what you pay for. So I'd rather have those starters, those first stringers on my team. I'm more than willing to spend my time, right? The value of time, right? I'd rather spend that on somebody who I really connect with. And by the way, if you have a team with one person on it, highly unlikely, but if you can go through life with one teammate and you could be successful and still look at yourself in the mirror and go, you know what, I'm doing pretty well, and I'm doing well by others, then it's one teammate. I think given all of our experiences on here, I think we've got thousands of teammates, right? And they all cycle within the daily game. And the daily game is right here. And so you probably could get off this call and write down a list of your first string, right? Your first stringers are probably going to be, I'd say probably could be anywhere from 5 to 15 people that you interact with every day. And in some way or another, they bring value to your life and vice versa. And then you can go to your second team, and that's an outer circle, and that could be another 15 or 20. And then if you really put your mind to it, your third and fourth string could be 100 people. And those people come and go, and they elevate up and they elevate down. And all the while, although that may sound like, hey, well, if you can't do anything for me today, then I'm going to demote you down to third, fourth string. I don't think that's the case. I think that may have more to do with what you're dealing with in your life, or what you're helping others deal with in their lives that day, which shuffles the teammates, right? Because as I said, you've got doctors, lawyers, accountants, consultants. You don't use those people for everything every day, all day. You shuffle them in and out of your team, your first or second team or what have you, your starters. So, that we lean on people here when we have these sessions, inside the session and outside the session. And those are definitely team members, but a team member who I might interact with directly today, I may not do it tomorrow. So that's the transition from first team to second team, or it could be hourly. I mean, there's no negative connotation to that. I think we were talking the other day about value and where it's okay to succeed, and part of that being okay to succeed is having the people around you that help, that support you to do that, and vice versa. And again, those are teammates. I'd be interested to hear, how who's important on your team these days, who's brought value to your life, and you in turn have brought value back to their life, and the connections that you've gotten from others, in a direct or indirect way from these teammates. And what was it if you could be specific, or generally, what did you see in that person, or what did that person see where they brought you onto their team, and or you brought them to your team? Where did you go with that? How long were they teammates? Were they an everyday lifelong? Are they an everyday lifelong teammate? Are they a month to month, quarter to quarter teammate? I mean, where is the utilization as far as how you can help each other? So I was thinking about this all day. I was trying this morning and yesterday about a topic, and you all know that I speak about sports, and I'm most all my life was a lot of athletics, and so being in that team concept and that team bubble, and the reliance that you put on others as teammates, and the support that you have from teammates, whether it be, if you're in soccer, football, baseball, basketball, field hockey, tennis, badminton, golf. Well, golf, you don't have a teammate actually, unless you're in the Ryder Cup, and a team sport. But you know where I'm going with this. I think it's I have a great time in my daily goings on when I treat the people around me as teammates, and they subsequently do the same. And I actually joke with neighbors about, if they keep this up, if they keep going the direction they're going in, I'm going to cut them. I'm going to trade them away to another team. We laugh about that. And that's what I'm talking about, where you cycle people in and out. You either cut them, or you trade them away, or you demote them down to another team, another a sub team. But they're always there, and they come back. It seems that the really important people in my life, though, they can't help me today. And I use that term very loosely. It sounds selfish, but if there's something that we can't interact on, or not something we can become better on, I may not interact today, or use them today, or them use me, my assistants, and vice versa. So that's where I wanted to go with this today, and talk about teammates. And I'm interested in hearing what anybody else has to contribute here with the teammate concept, and let's see where it takes us. I've got Sandy actually has first one to step up. Hi, Sandy.
Hi, Jamie. Yeah, isn't that unusual?
Yeah.
Thank you so much, and I can see you telling a neighbor that you might have to cut them, because you've been sports all your life, and that's the terminology. And the thing is, I've been on many, many teams in my life, nursing teams, special critical care teams, et cetera, et cetera. This family group is probably the most dominant team I've ever been on. I've led teams in nursing, but this team just has impacted me more than any team I've ever been on. The support of everybody in this group, and I don't reach out much. I absorb a great deal from this group, more so than I probably contribute. And the amazing changes that I feel in my thinking have been such a surprise to me. And I've said this recently, that, there's ideas in this group, this support, this team, that I never would have thought of. And once you have a new thought, you have many more new thoughts around it. And every single day, I absorb something from this group that supports me or allows me to think differently or allows me to try something new that I never would have tried. And so this is my most dominant team right now. And I'm so, so grateful for everyone. Everybody speaks so well and brings so many thoughts and ideas to the table that I just wanted to say how grateful I am. And thank you, Jaime, for bringing this subject today.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And I mentioned some of the people on here earlier as potential teammates, and Nancy and Therese and Nicola, and of course the captain of all teammates is our master mind and all seer is John Lavenia. His wife Shannon, I mean, she's another teammate for a lot of us on here, has helped us with some marketing and some of the groups that have gotten together. Yeah, I mean, it's a never ending. I don't want to use the words revolving door, but I would say cycle, because our lives have just been enriched by so many teammates that it's I think it's hard not to give them the kudos and to keep them in your life to improve your life as you go along. Speaking of Mr. Lavenia, he's got his hand raised. Hi, John.
Hey, how you doing, man?
Good.
It's good to see you and everyone who's here in our live session, because obviously that's, I think it's obvious that this is part of my team, and we have different roles in that, and so the idea of what's my role comes up, and then what's your role, Jaime? So your role in my life, right? That's a great question. You're someone who brings me perspective from a different perspective, right? You've had experiences that I didn't have, and I may never have, but that allows you to see things that in a different way than I can, see them naturally or habitually, right? What's comfortable for me may be something, different for you. And in some cases we've got some commonality. So I think the trick then is to have enough agreement that, or enough affinity, right? That, hey, we're talking about the same thing. Like if we were like in totally different planets, we couldn't be on the same team, right? Mentally. But to have enough agreement and affinity that we can see each other as assets and allies, but at the same time, enough diversity to evolve, right? To expand. I don't want to mirror, right? Now, sometimes I've thought, man, if I could just clone myself, how many of us have thought of that, right? Because you're pretty good at what you do and you need to do more of it, right? But is that really, I mean, that's kind of I'll tell you, in my experience, that's a bit of a dead end street, right? So I'm not looking for a mirror of me. If I've got some unique talent and ability, that means that other people have unique talents and abilities that I don't have. Right. So that's just two sides of the coin. So I think in this case, what was the quote? Since you're into sports, right? Vince Lombardi.
Oh,
Yeah. He said, if you're not fired with enthusiasm, you will be fired with enthusiasm. So that's I think the barometer for, I'll put it in different words, who I allow in my space. Who I allow in my space are people who I would consider uplifting to my emotional state, whether or not they're competent in the ways that I'm competent, and probably not to the extent that I am in these specific ways, but much more competent in these other ways. But the main thing, the barometer is, do I feel uplifted? The impression of increase, that's it. So Wallace Waddles, which by the way is our next book. And I've got something really special I'm cooking up, by the way, and you're all involved. You don't know it yet, but you're all involved. We're going to be doing a big workshop. I'm going to be inviting in the public. I expect to have hundreds of people on our book study, not starting next week because we're finishing Richest Man in Babylon, but starting the week after that, we're going on a rip roaring ride through the science of getting rich. So get excited, folks. We're like promoting this. I'm making the opt-in pages for it now. It's going to be sick. But the impression of increase right out of that book, right? Waddle said, even if you're just selling a stick of candy to a child, make sure they leave your shop, your candy shop, with the impression of increase, like their life is better. Now what happens? They come back, right? They're on your team. In this case, your team of customers. They bring other team members called their friends who they play stickball with in the alley, right? They come back and they buy more sticks of candy, right? Referrals. So people are either an asset or a liability. And I've oscillated. I've been liability, right? Have any of us just gone through life completely perfect, and everywhere we show up, we're constantly impressing people with increase, and we're always an MVP? Give me the magic elixir if you've got that. You know what? So we're doing the human thing. So thank you, Jamie, for the perspective. By the way, Mark just sent me, our wonderful friend, Lieutenant Colonel Mark Riggle, just sent me pictures from the jury box room. Whatever. He's got a tag on juror number 13. He's like, I'm lucky 13. I was like, you make that look good. Anyway,
I'm going to send him some flowers.
Yeah. Thank you, Jamie. Back to you.
Sure. Ego made a comment in here. It's who you want to let onto your team. It's important, right? Who's again, I don't want to use these strong words like worthy enough, because I don't ever want to exclude anybody, because you never know what they can bring to the team. So I don't want to make a judgment, an immediate judgment with somebody who may or may not end up on my team. So, John and both Ego said, who do you allow? It's a series of tryouts, right? Your first interaction is that's the tryout, and you interact with somebody new, and you're trying them out to be on the team as they are probably doing to you. And so you figure out who you want to allow onto your team that's going to enrich each life. And speaking of teammates, Bill is up next with his hand up, and I noticed his teammate was wandering around behind him with the door open and looking in the boxes. Hi, Bill.
Hi, Jamie. Yes, that was my number one fan. Great subject, fantastic subject. Teams come in all shapes and sizes. We all partake in a team, whether we think we do or not. We are all open to accepting people, good, bad, and indifferent in our teams. Our teams can be anything. Our teams can be our refuge collectors, our mailman, or whatever. They're all part of keeping our lives ticking over. Sometimes these team members are in the background and we never really pay much heed to them. But it's when they're not there, then we sort of go, oh, what's going wrong? And that can reflect in our own little people that we have around our teams. I have a great reliance on teams and have done all my life. As much as I like to think I'm independent and keep that sort of stubborn head on where you want to get everything done yourself and then realize, actually, no, I'm not that clever, or I don't know what I'm doing here. And then it's at that stage that you realize that it's the team members that step up when you raise your hand and say, can I have a little bit of help? For me, sport teams, just as you're saying, Jimmy, it's a great camaraderie. It's a tough call because you get dropped, you get injured, you are out of form, whatever. That in itself is a tough place to be in a team. I think sometimes people go, oh, but it's only a team sport, that you're watching soccer, you're watching American football or whatever, and people don't realize what the bond is between the members of that team, and they all have their own little idiosyncrasies about who gets on with who and who teams up better with each other, etc. But the bottom line is, it's like this place. Everybody's different. Everybody brings their own little piece to it. I might have been, a 5'8" winger playing rugby. Most of them are now 6'8", I think, these days, and weigh a million pounds. But it is the fact that the team moves together. I can certainly appreciate, it's a pretty young Colonel Mark's not here today. I hope he has the judge's permission to take photographs inside the court. I don't want him to get in trouble. We'll be claiming or able putting up a thing on Facebook for to bail him out of jail for being in contempt. But it can be that sort of in soldiering, it can be like your fire team. You do rely on everybody. It's not just one individual. It can be in the police, it could be in the military, it can be on any subject or any walk of life. We rely on so many more people than we realize. And I know what you're saying about letting people in, and you know, people take different positions in the league, so to speak. But at the end of the day, you can't underestimate any team member, because they could be good at something that nobody else is good at, and everybody has maybe had them down in the bottom division, whereas all of a sudden they're right at the top of the Premier League. So they are. And I think it's always worthy not to underestimate the skills people have, because sometimes they can surprise themselves. And that is a great piece of use for anybody in any team. I'll leave you. You probably appreciate this, Jamie. It's a quote, and it's not Wallace Waddles or anybody like John's quoting. It's from a soccer coach, a soccer manager way back in the 70s called Bill Shankly. He looked after Liverpool football team. And he was quoted once as saying, football, it's not a matter of life and death. It's much more important than that. So I think we could apply that to all our teams. So we could. Thanks, Jimmy.
Yep, you're welcome. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know if, you know, non-athletes may not have heard this, but I'm sure maybe it's a pretty common term. There's no I in team, right? Your teammates, you support your teammates and they support you. And, you know, I don't know a whole lot of people, if anybody, that just that's wildly successful or has a life that's meant to be lived, that's doing it on their own. Yeah. Thanks, Bill. That's good. That's good stuff. I appreciate your input. As always. I've got one hand up next, and that's Cyril.
Hi, Jamie. Hi. This is an interesting one for me, this particular topic, because for much of my life I've felt as though I've had to go it alone, because that's the way life has kind of felt to me. But I've always cherished, in my inner circle, I've always cherished different points of view, because it's been obvious to me that what I think is only one perspective, and there's always more than one perspective. And sometimes the other perspective is more important, in terms of, for example, with relationships, I would often, my counsel would often go to my girlfriend at the time, because I know her perspective is going to be far more intuitive of certain things than mine is, and so I've always cherished the ability to ask friends their perspective and see what different answers come up that open up my thinking, so that I'm able to deal with situations in a better way than I would alone. So, and I must admit, over the last quite a few years, I've been tending to try and put myself more in team situations than rather being alone. In fact, I realized when I was teaching that actually in the end I found it a bit too lonely. I felt I was spending so much time on my own. When I was teaching, I was coming from the perspective, even though I was with people, I was working, and therefore I found it a little isolating to some extent, in terms of my teaching attitude. So in the jobs I've done in it, and being involved with my choir, I've loved being involved with the idea of a choir is about team, absolutely about team, because every member counts towards the end result. Bill, your comment about rugby is quite an interesting one, but I would go so far as to say taller than 6'8", because a few years back, my choir and we were singing at the World Championships, which was really a lot of fun. But when those teams come out onto the pitch and you're standing on the same ground as they are, you realize some of them are over 7 foot. which they are literally giants. I could not believe how big some of these people were. But anyway, yes. I thank you so much, everybody, because for your counsel and perspective that you've given me, and the ability to see other things. And yeah, so thank you very much, everybody, because you are definitely part of my team, and I cherish that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. I love that. I love that perspective. And I was thinking about, if you drill this down to athletics again, and, the guys, the superstars that you read about, every day, all day in basketball, football, baseball, those guys didn't get to be the great hitter. They become a great scorer in basketball, or great quarterback or pass catcher. You had to have a quarterback throw it to you to catch, and you had to have a line to block so you could throw. Teammates can make you great, right? That you can make teammates great. You can set up teammates to be great, right? That's the giving portion. And they in turn can set you up to be great, right? By helping you in other areas that, as John said, we all bring something to the table that one another, or that the other can't, because of their experiences in life. And that's the value of having a team, in my view. Being great. I saw this quote. I'm going to read it real quick. And I can't remember who it was. It was just the other day. Nobody wants to know why you're great. They want to know how you got to be great. I mean, I just think that's just the epitome of setting yourself up with some very valuable teammates, being a valuable teammate of somebody else. So thanks, Cyril. I don't see any other hands up. So I'm going to, we can wrap up. Unless somebody has something they want to jump in, we can open mic. You don't have to raise your hand. Just pop in before we wrap up. Anybody? Okay. No other hands? Well, so we'll go ahead.
I'm going to say something.
Yeah.
We are in there. And teams are great. I have been responsible and been in many teams over my life. And I think the best teams are when you can all really relate to each other, and when you take the time out to understand each other and listen to each other. And I try to do that with all the teams that I've been responsible for. And I think I've had great friends there. And this team here is the same. Everybody understands and relates to each other. And what I found is, what came out for me was that there's this whole team, which is everybody in the whole group. And then what's come off of that is other little teams. So we've got the team of facilitators as well. That's like one team on the side. And then I've got the people that come to the book club. So Star and Alison and Emma and Ego, and Ilya's been there. And then we've broken off into the little groups, and we've been having a little chat so we've got Ego and Emma and that with me. And I think I'm going to make lifelong friends out of the people that are here. And I think that's just fantastic. And then Emma and Neil and Jane and I, we've got accountability groups. So we've made it into different teams. So lots of little teams have come out of this really big team. And I think that's going to keep happening for a very long time. And once we all get to meet up, I think that's just going to strengthen it even more. Because if we can have this sort of feeling in the group, and we haven't even met anybody yet, just think how amazing it's going to be when we do. It's going to be a brilliant team, and I hope it lasts for very long. Thanks, Jaime. Great.
Wonderful, wonderful point. That's a wonderful point. And I just read where Ego threw up a comment in the chat that's Team JLSM. I mean, yeah. What better team? And there's some people in here that have not gotten on and had opened up with us. And I'm sure there's some people on there that, we don't feel like we know that well. And there's no pressure on them to have to speak up, but there's some people on here that I haven't interacted with. I'm sure I can help as a teammate and they as well, vice versa. So Team JLSM. Yeah. So just dyslexic a little bit. No, I don't see any more hands. Going, gone. Have a great day. Get started early on having a wonderful day. Say I love you to somebody and go have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.
Bye, everyone. Thanks, Jamie.